So hi everybody, today I thought I'd go through some tools for crocheting, just regular crocheting on this one. Just some things that you might find helpful, things that you need to get yourself going, and just to get you to grips a bit more on what everything is basically. So I'll just work my way across what I have on the table here. First of all, a pair of scissors. These will always be really handy. These are thread scissors, so they are a bit different to what you might normally use as kitchen scissors, so they cut the thread and the yarn a lot better. Any scissors will do though. It doesn't have to be this particular style. You can have any different ones. There's loads of fancy ones out there. I just have this green floral pair. Handy obviously when you're cutting your yarn at the end of your work, if you're changing colours, anything like that. Pair of scissors is always a must. Then for some crochet projects you might have to do a tension gauge, so having a certain amount of stitches in a certain space, and if you need to measure your work, then a little tape measure is always handy. I just have just a standard flexible tape measure. You can use anything that you like, but I just find these ones a lot easier to carry around with me if I'm taking a project on the go rather than a conventional retractable tape measure, and they're a lot lighter. This little thing here is a tension gauge, so you just pop it over your desired finger, you put your yarn through the loops on it, and to either side, or you might just find one, and it will just help hold your yarn in the correct position for when you're working, so then your yarn isn't too loose or too tight around your finger, and it will just glide through the holes on it easily, so then you've got the correct tension for your work. Onto darning needles, or tapestry needles. These come in handy when you're finishing off your work, so you can sew the ends of your work in to hide them rather than just cut them and have like knobbly bits and have the risk of them coming undone. This way you can just sew through into your work and just pull through and leave a little bit of a tail through your work. Most of the time you can't see it, it's normally invisible. You just sew between the stitches that you've already done. So I've got two here. I've got metal ones that I normally use. I just find them work a little bit easier, and then some plastic one. This might be easier if you've got a stiff piece that you need something flexible, more flexible to go through, but I just prefer to use a metal, then I know it's not going to snap inside my work. But the choice is yours, either or will do fine, as long as it's got like the big eyelet in it to fit yarn through rather than like a cross stitch needle, a finer needle that will won't fit the yarn through. This way the eye in it is big enough that it will do. Onto some stitch markers. I always have stitch markers on me. I normally actually keep them in my ball of yarn. I can show you here. I actually have one kept in. Here. I normally keep them one with me everywhere, so then I've always got one to hand. If I just need to pause what I'm doing for my work, I can just shove one in to stop it coming undone, or I can use it if I need it in the middle of a project, mark a halfway point, something like that. So I've got two different types here. I've got a little gold one that's very slippery, keeps falling out my hand. Little gold one and a pink one. It is normally these pink ones that I use. Just they're handy, they're easier to open and close. So they open out like this, and then you just pop it in like a safety pin almost, and close it. So I've normally got, and this one does the exact same thing, it's just finer. These ones are a little bit stiffer, so I find them a bit trickier to use, but they both do the exact same thing. It's just handy to pop a stitch marker, especially if you're doing like toys or things like that and you need to mark a certain point for the arms and the legs to go, or the eyes. Then you can pop it in so you've got the correct placement for your other bits and bobs for it to be attached to. Or like I said, if you need a halfway marker, or you just want to take a break, you can pop it in, stop your yarn coming out and you're losing stitches and having to rework it again. These are a lifesaver. I think I use these more than anything else that I own for crocheting, obviously, apart from the hooks. So that's a couple of stitch markers. You can get them in loads of different colours, different styles. Sometimes there might be a little clip with a decoration on. Whatever works best for you. It doesn't have to be that exact style. Next, I've got some stitch holders. Now these are slightly different because you won't just pop one of these into your work and leave it as a marker. You actually pop your stitches onto these. So I've got a couple of different sizes. They come in a range of sizes, colours, styles, but these are just a couple that I have. So you would slide your work onto here and then close it up, and then that would be your holder. So you'd have your work sitting on one of these. That's why they come in different sizes, depending on what you need them for. And then if you needed that hook to use for something else, if you're, you know, going in between projects, or you needed to sit part of your work onto it and then carry on working something else and then come back and pick this up later. Some clothing items do this. I did a jumper before where I needed to take some of my stitches off, work a little bit of some other stitches and then join them back together again. And this would just meant that it wasn't sitting loose. So these come in handy. They're normally more used for knitting because obviously you'd have your work on your needle, whereas the hook you'll tend to be doing it one at a time. So they're not always used for crocheting, but I do find sometimes they do come in handy, especially if I just want to pause my project and go on and do something else quickly. If I'm making a little make for somebody or something, then I might just pop them onto one of these and then I've got a hook free to go off and do something else with if I need to. So that's the little stitch holders. Next is the typical crochet hooks. You can't crochet with that one. So I've got a couple of different types here. So they come in a lot of different sizes, from very, very fine, like 0.25 mil. I'm talking in English terms here. And up to, I think the biggest one I've got is an 18 mil hook, but I'm pretty sure they do come bigger than that for crochet hooks. I know obviously there's that whole fashion with like those big knitting where you've got like giant knitting needles, and I haven't seen that in crochet yet, but maybe that's something that will come in the future. But there are two different styles of hook when it comes to any of the sizes. Normally there are two different styles. So this one here is called inline, and that is due to, if I just put that one down, this edge of the hook is in line with this bit. It's a straight line going across. This bit doesn't stick out, it's flat, and the actual hook bit dips back into the hook. So the edge of this is in line with the edge of this, and it's a straight line that goes across. This doesn't affect the way you work or how your project comes out, because the size of your stitches is based on the neck, this part of the hook. So where you work your hook onto, which is this piece, this part of it, the neck, that is the size of your hook. That's what represents your hook. So this piece here, whether it sticks out or it's in line like it is now, doesn't make a difference to the size of your stitches. Some people just prefer one that sits like that, and some people prefer one that sits like this. As you can see, this bit here sits about here. This bit sticks out. It's not in line. If I do that a bit closer, you might be able to see a bit better. This bit is not in line with this piece. But like I said, it's this neck piece here that determines the size of your stitch. So this one here I've got is a 7 mil. So you can see this is quite chunky. This piece, the head of your hook, doesn't affect how your stitch size comes out at all. So there's just a couple of them. Like I said, you can get lots of different colours, different styles. Some people personalise the ends of these. This isn't one I've done myself. This is a company that has hooks that come like this, and then just a simple metal one. You can get bamboo ones, you can get plastic ones, loads of different materials for whatever you find best. I prefer a metal hook. I find my yarn slides over it a lot better. But then if I'm doing long projects, the rubber on this handle is really comfortable, so it means I can go a little bit longer and work for a little bit longer. But they are chunkier, so if you're wanting something more compact to take away with you, a plain metal hook like this might be better suited. The choice is entirely yours. It's the size of the hook that what matters per project. So as long as you've got that bit right, the rest of it is entirely your choice, your comfort, what you prefer to use. Lastly, I've just got a couple of extras here. So I've got a pencil and a pen. I don't always use these when I am crocheting, not to go on my yarn, obviously. It's for marking off your pattern as you go. So I don't always use it. It depends. If I'm doing a big project, then I tend to, because then you can get a little bit lost, especially if you pull it down for a couple of days and then you come back and then you think, oh wow, what row or round was I on? Sometimes just having a pen or pencil to mark off what you have done comes in handy. Normally I will photocopy what I am doing. So I've got a clean copy if I want to do the pattern again, and then I've got a copy that I scribble over as I work, and then that one can be binned when I've finished, and then I've always got a clean copy to work with. So you don't have to use them. You might be really good. You might have a counter that counts your stitches. You might just tally on a piece of paper how many rows or rounds you've done. If it's a small project, you might not even use it at all. Majority of the time, if I'm doing a small project, I won't use a pen or pencil and mark it off. It'll just, the instructions will be sat as a screenshot on my phone, and I'll just sit there and read through it. And when they're small, it's pretty easy to see how many rows or rounds you've done, rather than sitting there, say, counting to 100 rows or something that you're working on. Then this is an easier way. Or you might not mark it off. You might use a stitch marker, say every 20 rows, and then you can see how many rows you've got there by counting through your stitch markers. Something like that. A combination of all of these things working together is what will help you through your projects. You might not use any of them. You might just have your hooks, your yarn, and off you go, and some scissors. But the choice is entirely yours. It's just a little video, so if you weren't entirely sure and you're just starting out and you don't really know what any of this stuff is, because I didn't. I mean, I looked at one of these first and went, what the hell do I do that for? I think my dad's left something behind, you know, he's one of his tools for something. And actually then I realised it's not, it is for crocheting. And I thought, what the hell is this? It's like a giant paper clip. Things like this you pick up as you go along, and that's how you learn. So just a short video to sum up a few tools that might come in handy. You might not have known what they were, and hopefully now you do. So that's it for me today. Don't forget, if you like this video, please do like it down below and hit the thumbs up button. Hit that notification bell so you know when I have new videos coming up. And if you do enjoy the videos, then please do subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out. And then you'll know when I've got new videos coming up. And I will see you next time. Thank you very much. Goodbye.